Okay, we'll start with introductions. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Reina Farales. I'm a Deputy County Manager with San Mateo County. Joining me here today are some of our department heads or department representatives. We have Paul Sorbo from Behavioral Health. We have Brian Zamora from Public Health. Nicole Pollack from the Human Services Agency. Lisa Mancini from Aging Adult Services with S.T. Mayer and Louise Rogers in the back, also from the health system. We have Peggy Jensen, who's also a Deputy County Manager for Community Services in the county. Bill Lowell, who's our Housing Director. Marlene Finley, our Parks Department Director. And Tricia Sanchez, who's our Assistant Sheriff. So we're all here today to answer any questions you might have on Measure A funding and any requests you might be thinking about. So I'm going to kick us off with an overview of the county's priorities and some background on Measure A and the types of things that we're looking for. And then we'll spend some time going through the application process, the letter of intent, and any proposals to submit early next year. And then we have each of our departments here that will talk for about 5 minutes about department priorities that fall in line with the county's priorities. And really they're here with their expertise if you do have an idea around health, human services, any of our departments that are here that want to, that would be able to respond to your question. And then we'll have a lot of time. So we have 3 hours that's set aside. We don't expect to be here 3 hours. We did this last week with at the Sobrado Community, the Foundation Center, and that just took us an hour. So we had quite a few questions there too, a lot of general questions. So hopefully we can get through all of your questions today. Okay, by way of background, we talk about Shared Vision 2025. Some of you have been in the county a really long time. We've done a couple of visioning processes in the community. And the first one was around 1999. We had a number of new board members who wanted to go out to the community and ask what priorities were, what our goals should be for 2010. So that was our first community visioning process, and out of that came Shared Vision 2010. And then since that time, we went back, revisited it, and now we have Shared Vision 2025. So we're focusing on 5 community outcomes. That's healthy and safe, prosperous, livable, environmentally conscious, and collaborative, and then 9 community impact goals. So this is our framework, kind of our foundation for setting priorities in the county when it comes to allocating resources. And because we just moved to a 2-year budget cycle in the county, so this last round was our first real 2-year budget, and now we're going into our next 2-year cycle. So it's time for us to revisit priorities and set those for the community so that we can make sure that our resources are aligned with what's most important. So we've gotten feedback from our departments, and this is through our performance planning cycle, gotten those priorities. We sent out a survey to our community partners around getting feedback on priorities. We also used some of our social media channels and community tools like Nextdoor and MindMixer, SMC Speak Out. So those of you who did submit your feedback and your comments, thank you for doing that. So we took all of that and brought to the board on December 9th a list of preliminary priorities, and we did have individual board members say if there were any additions or changes to that. We are keeping our Measure A website updated with all this information, so if you haven't gone there yet, we have the letters of intent and application form and the updated priorities and all kinds of other information that would be helpful to you as you think about applying. We also have the Shared Vision dashboard. So as part of our, when the voters approved Measure A, one of the things that we wanted to make sure we did was to create a way for us to show the community that we're making progress with Measure A funds, as well as making the whole community a better place. So the Shared Vision dashboard is one way that we're going to track priorities in the county and making sure that we are performing towards the community impact goals under shared vision. And we also have a Measure A dashboard. So those of you that are receiving Measure A funding, we update that dashboard on a quarterly basis so that it's a very open and transparent process so we can show the community that we're being good stewards of their dollars. So Measure A, by way of background, so Measure A is a general half-cent sales tax approved by San Mateo County voters in November of 2012. So we began getting the money in April of 2013. Our board has appropriated over $100 million. So we were expecting about $60 to $70 million a year to come in from Measure A. Because of the improved economy, we're now looking at about $80 million a year of Measure A coming in. So for the next 2 years, we're anticipating about $160 million of new Measure A funds. And because we want to maintain a prudent level of reserves, we do have reserves right now of $55 million Measure A. And those of you who were at the board meeting November 4th, so our board did accept another process for Measure A funding, which is for fiscal year 2015 to 17 for our next 2-year budget cycle. So that's also on our website. So Measure A criteria. When the ballot, as far as the ballot language, there is language around the types of things that Measure A can be spent on, but it is a general sales tax, so the board does have discretion on how it sets priorities around Measure A and where it can be spent. Measure A is to be used to fill in any service gaps, especially for vulnerable populations in the community. It's there to repair our county infrastructure. We're using it to leverage other funds, whether it's grant dollars or federal, state dollars, community funding from foundations or other local government agencies. We've done that with Measure A. Also, any programs or services that can reduce long-term costs. We did have a question at the last session if we would entertain any ideas of expanding services. And we said yes, if it will result in the long term improving outcomes that could result in saving money, like or avoiding costs in our jail or emergency room or hospital or other institutions that we have in the county. And then this last thing around being evidence-based and collaborative. So we showed our open data portal and our dashboards at the last meeting. We're really getting heavy into data collection when it comes to showing, to demonstrate results. We need to rely on good data. So that is something this time around that if organizations do need some additional resources to be able to get at good data, and also we'll be including money for evaluation of Measure A funded initiatives. That is something that we want to make sure that what we do with the money works, and that we are using evidence-based practices, and that we are collaborating and to the extent that we can share data to show results. And this is just another picture of the Measure A dashboard. So the links, we have the links in the PowerPoint presentation, but they're also on the Measure A website. Okay, so I'm gonna go through the priority areas pretty quickly. They are in the handout. So these are our 9 community impact goals, and so I'll talk through some of the key things that we want to see in each of the community impact goals. So the first one is on reducing crime. So we're looking to reduce recidivism rates, and some of this has to do with our public safety realignment, our AB 109 population. But just in general, we want to emphasize those programs that can keep people out of our jail and out of our juvenile hall and other institutions. We're also looking at providing the support needed for commercially sexually exploited children. That's a population, especially vulnerable population, that we want to make sure that we support and address their needs. And then also to look for ways to more aggressively intervene in mental health cases. So this is partnerships across our departments when it comes to behavioral health and mental illness. Increasing life expectancy. So with this, we're measuring health coverage. We're also measuring life expectancy by race and ethnicity, and also is it obesity race? No, 7th grade physical fitness scores in schools here in the county. So we want to emphasize providing mental health support, increasing physical fitness, improving healthy eating habits, and then making sure we're connecting everybody to health coverage here in the county. Affordability of housing and basic needs. So this is by far the most interest that we've gotten around Measure A, is to look at housing affordability and options for housing across all the populations that we serve. So housing for low-income, vulnerable residents, preventing homelessness, addressing homelessness across our populations, aging in place of keeping seniors and older adults in their homes, people with disabilities. Older foster youth is another population that we want to make sure they have the housing that they need to be stable in the community. And then we also want to explore living wage and rent control ordinances over the next 2 years as a way for us to help make it more affordable to live here. Closing education achievement gaps. So with this, we're focusing on 3rd grade reading proficiency and high school graduation rates, and any other education achievement gaps that might be there, but those are the 2 indicators we're tracking. Some of the things that we have already invested in the Big Lift. This is the early childhood initiative, preschool, and then and also summer learning in our libraries. So things like that could improve 3rd grade reading and high school graduation rates. Improving transit accessibility. So this is increasing the number of public transportation options that we have. Right now, we have Measure A going towards Samtrans for Ready Wheels, their paratransit services. That's one way to make sure that we continue to make transportation options available to our older adults and people with disabilities, and also ways to reduce congestion. A lot of this will probably show up in our county employee programs, so looking to increase the number of employees that we have that are taking other transportation options. Increasing community engagement. This has a lot to do with our libraries and our parks, and also we're tracking voter turnout. So if we address the needs for infrastructure and resources in the community, get everybody engaged in decision making around what happens in their community, and also looking at continuing our park strategic plan, improving parks, and also improving and rebuilding some of our libraries and enhancing programs in our libraries. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions, so we're looking at electricity per capita consumption, electricity. What else is in this one, you guys? Vehicle miles traveled. And greenhouse gas emissions per capita. Was that per capita?
Overall.
Okay. So this is around climate change and putting some of our climate action plans, getting those steps implemented over the next 2 years. And then conserving and protecting natural resources. We're measuring per capita water consumption. So in those high use areas, putting some initiatives there with Measure A dollars to reduce consumption. Air quality, zero waste, so they're diverting waste out of our landfills, and then potable water supplies. And then with the trails, the most votes that we got on our Speak Out was around connecting trails from the bay over to the ocean, over to Half Moon Bay, so creating a greenway from the bay to Half Moon Bay was one of our top vote getters. And then lastly, open, responsive, and effective government. So this is around creating an open and transparent government. So all of our efforts around open data. We have John Weidner here, who is here at the last session talking about our open data portal and ways for you to access that data and also upload data so that we can make that available to everyone in the public. And I want to spend a little bit of time around how we're going to allocate the next 2 years for Measure A. So in prioritizing Measure A, we do have existing Measure A initiatives. And so we'll need to work with our departments and evaluate those to determine whether we continue those Measure A initiatives. So that's one of our priorities for Measure A. The second is around infrastructure, so capital and IT infrastructure. So we want to make sure that we have good plans in place for that before we take a look at new proposals for Measure A. So the dollars that are coming in over the next 2 years, much of that will likely go towards existing initiatives and capital and IT infrastructure projects. But there will be money there, of course, for any new proposal or enhanced programs. And we're also focusing on, we have a 10-year plan to reduce our pension dollars, and then this emphasis on using data to manage toward outcomes.